Okay, to keep faith with the 5 o'clockers, and I want to do that, I am going to go through the hour's worth of capital campaign material in about 20 minutes. I'll do that, and we can stop, and I'll let you tell me sort of what you want to do. And really, if you need to get, you want to get, you got to get, just get. And you're not going to hurt my feelings. As I said, the check's cleared. I'm good. But we'll go from there. I'm sure. The biblical platform for your capital campaigns, 1 Chronicles 29. You need to read it. It's about the offering for the temple and how it was done. The principles that were there are still the principles I think we really need to follow in how they went about it. Everybody was given an opportunity to give. Specifics were sought around a vision that was there. There was no compulsion for anybody to have to give. No, if you don't do it, we're going to run a spear through you or anything. And then you saw that leaders must lead. The very first gift to come forward was David's. And these are still many of the principles that we would follow today in any kind of campaign. You want to make sure that you're staying with these principles in place. Remember what we talked about earlier in capital campaigns. There is a capital pocket, and if your hand ain't in that pocket, somebody else's hand will be. And that's why you need to always, if you're not running this formalized campaign, always have a vision that appeals to the capital gift, the non-earned income pocket gift that people would have. Timing matters on your capital campaigns. There's good times and bad times. Christmas, bad time. Easter, spring break, bad time. Summer, bad time. Snowbirds, gone, bad time. So you've got to take a look at...
There's 1 week in September.
Yeah, there's a week in middle September that works well, and we're going to squeeze all this in. That's right. No, it's not. It's not. No, Christmas is bad time. They want to focus on baby Jesus. Look, I tried the stewardship sermon on Christmas Eve. Bombed. Not good. Not good. So the windows are important to look at. You do not want to start to where right in the middle of it you're necessarily going to have something like this that will, and in many instances appropriately, divert the attention of your people. You don't want to get up and say, hey, look, I know it's the middle of December, but you got to stop this baby Jesus business. We got a campaign to run. Focus, people, focus. No. They want to focus on baby Jesus. They come into the Christ child. They want their church focused on it. They want sermons focused on it. They want hymns focused on it. That's where they are. It's what you need to do. Easter, spring break, you got that Holy Week season. They really want to focus there on what the meaning of all that is. Spring break, they want to get out of Dodge. So you've got a capital campaign that you're doing in the spring season. You January, February, March, April, May, which is not a bad season at all. But when you get down to do that, you need to check 2 weeks. When is Holy Week and when is spring break? You set up, we've got a whole series of meetings all set up to sit down and talk to people. And that spring break, it's just gone, So you can work around those, but they're important to look at. The summer, you just don't want to be in your capital campaign in June, July, and the first part of August. Because where are a lot of your people? They're on vacation and they're here and they're seeing grandma and they're this and they're that, and they're not anchored in and around their church in a solid way. And, when are the snowbirds with us? When are they gone? So those are all things that you look at where you are in hopes that you can put your campaign in a season to where you're going to have relatively uninterrupted 3.5 month period. Give that thought as you move forward. Plug that time in, and then you back everything else up from there. You need to make your decision of exactly what you're going to do and when about 9 to 10 months out, at least. 12 months, what? You said 9 to 10. I mean 9 to 12, excuse me. You know, you go 18 months. I mean, that's not a crime to go early. Where you start is when you start getting less than that. You start squeezing. Some kind of frame like that allows everything to flow very appropriately, and your church is best served. You're going to do a campaign in the fall of 2016. You want to know you're going to do that somewhere between September of this year to January at the latest, and lock that in. And then you can really map out your whole church year to where that gets the focus that it needs to have. Do you need outside help? Okay, I'm going to try to do this quickly. And understand again, when I'm talking, if I talk to you about this, I'm trying most of all to help you as pastors to know how to lead your church. That's really the prime motive. I do understand that I run a company that does this for a living. You know, it's what we do. So when I'm talking to you about that, I own the bias, and you can too, and you can judge it for what it's worth. But, you know, frankly, you know, if I never get a job out of anybody in this room, we're going to eat. You know, it's okay. I don't need to come in here and con you about something for on all this. You understand first, when your church decides to have a fuss fight on whether you use somebody from the outside or not, you're talking about a cost of somewhere between 0.5% and no more than 5% of all the money you're going to raise. It is an extremely little bitty cost of all of what you're doing in a capital campaign. It is very small, and yet I have seen churches just have the worst fights about it. It doesn't amount to much money. Tiny part of the budget. You need counsel if you're trying to do more than 1 times your budget. That's kind of a cutoff. Yes, sir?
Does the fee come before or after the campaign?
The fee needs to always be quoted in full before. Flat fee.
Before or after?
I don't get paid before, but you know exactly what you're paying for. So it's not based on what you raise at all. Okay, there's no percentage charges in this, you know, et cetera. That's a bad way to do it. You know, there's a company out there right now, I know, that they're saying, okay, we're going to charge you this if we raise $100,000, but if we raise $200,000, we're going to charge you this. If we raise $300,000, we're going to charge you this. And you know, I was okay. Well, you know, well, that's a bad way to do business. Now, when I'm talking to your members, they're sitting there saying, well, if I double my pledge, yeah, he wants me to double my pledge. That tips it over this $100,000 level. He's going to make some more money, and it's going to be out of what you just don't want any of that in play at all. So that's quoted early on. You're going to pay blank dollars. That's what we're going to do. 1 times budget. That's your cut. So you got a budget of $200,000. You want to raise $200,000. And that's all you need. You really can do that by yourself. You start getting beyond it, you're taking too big a risk that you could do real harm. And the church could get really messed up. That's a good cutoff for you. Yes, if you want to raise twice what you'd raise on your own. This is quoted, and it's been quoted now for some time, that you'll always do at least twice with professional counsel what you would do on your own. There ain't a way in the world you can prove it. I mean, you can't do 2 campaigns 2 different ways at the same time with, you know, you can't. But what this is saying, I mean, this says it, and I put it up here because I believe it. And I believe it because I've seen it to be true every single time. That when a campaign was done where they didn't use counsel, and then where one was, they did twice as good. And then if they went back to going on their own, they did half what they did. It proves itself to me, and so I put it up there. But I can't prove that. But just in raw dollars alone, you're going to do far better than anything it would cost you. Yes, if you want your pastor to focus on his or her strengths. If you don't have counsel, who's going to wind up being the leader of this deal? What if you got a layperson that says, oh, I used to work for United Way, I can do it. Will they be the real leader?
No.
It'll be the pastor. Now, how many of you pastors went to seminary to learn how to raise money? How many of you think that you're professional at it? Really good at it, very confident in it? Well, see, that's not working out well. So How many of you think you can preach well? Okay. All right, DS is writing down notes. Hold your hands up again. No, that's right. How many of you think that you're good in pastoral care and caring for people, recognizing needs and responding to those? Okay. How many of you think you're a good teacher? Okay. So you know you have some strengths, and you probably exercise those strengths in a variety of ways, and I'm going to make an assumption you do it well. Well, when I take something that's a weakness of yours, that you've got to run a capital campaign and raise money, I am sticking that right into your time frame. And where are you going to get the time to focus on what you're weak at? Where's that coming from? From what you're strong at, right? It's going to make what you're strong weaker, and you're not going to become really good at it on a short period of time. So you're going to focus a lot of energy and a lot of stress because you're in what you don't do well. Isn't that what we always do when we're involved in something we don't do well? And where does that, what's that stress and energy going to do to your preaching? It's going to sap energy. It's going to sap time. So you wind up with a bad capital campaign, and suddenly preaching and worship and stuff falls off too. That's what occurs when you don't have counsel. The preacher is forced to spend time where he or she is not highly competent, and it can be very stressful, and everything falls apart. Yes, if you prefer a unified congregation to a divided one. Capital campaigns are highly stressful events because a great deal is at stake. You succeed, you build a new sanctuary. You fail, you don't. You succeed, you get rid of the debt. You fail, you don't. There is a huge gap between what success and failure means. There really is not hardly any way to declare a tie. You win or you lose. And the reason it has so much stress is that you don't know which you have done, frankly, until you get right to the end. You go through several months, but you're not like keeping score every day. We're trying to get ready, 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 and then there is Super Bowl day. They're bringing the cards down. And you're going to find out, did we win or did we lose? And as that builds and gets closer, the stress builds. And what happens when the stress builds is you will have people in the congregation believe, I should step in and take charge for the good of the church. I need to prevent a disaster. Folks are worrying about it. They're questioning, I need to step in. Now, when that happens, who are they stepping in front of? The pastor. How do I get this decision changed? How's the best way to have that changed? Change the preacher. I need to get the preacher to change. And as soon as that happens, preacher, we shouldn't have decided this, we ought to decide that. The preacher stands on an island to go one way or the other. There isn't any default position. Now, you got folks backing you up all the way. But you now got a influential, bossy sort of ex-general who thinks he knows better, and he's got a Sunday school class. And you got a decision. Whichever way you go, you're going to leave one group or the other. You can't stand in the middle on that deal. And that's a bad deal. It's a bad deal. If counsel was there when that person brings their challenge, you can look at them and you can say, you know, I had never thought of that. What you need to do is call Cliff. Because we're paying him to run this deal, and that was his idea. Give him a call and tell him, let me know what he says. You're still good. They call, we make a decision, but we make a decision from a platform they can't match. They're challenging me, and I understand that's fine, because they did a capital campaign in a prior church in upstate Minnesota where they used to attend. Okay? And that's what they're laying on me, that they know better. I obviously made a decision that comes out of what I really think, with my experience and background, will be the best course of action for this church. And I made it from working with over 2,000 churches and raising over $2 billion. And I don't mind reminding that guy of it. And I'm basically saying, go ahead. Tell me you've done 2001. He can't. Now, he doesn't like me, but he can't trump me. He can't trump it. It's done. And they usually say something like, well, I guess we'll see. That's good enough. I guess we'll see. But he's not mad at his preacher. He's not mad at anybody else. He's mad at me, but he can't really do anything to hurt me. And we go on, and we succeed, and it's good, and he's hugging his preacher and everybody else from the day they hit the victory. And he ain't hugging me. But I'm going back to Arkansas. See, it's okay. And the church is good. And he and the preacher never have that conversation again. In fact, they're out there holding hands while they're groundbreaking, and the guy's acting like he was all there the whole time, you know. But if you don't have that insurance policy of someone to turn to, what happens when he hits the preacher and the preacher says, well, I'm going with Bob and Sally and Joe and Mary. And this guy says, well, you can have Bob and Sally, Joe and Mary. I'm going with the whole Genesis Sunday School class. Got to split. Yes, sir.
So, you talked about churches doing capital campaigns for new sanctuaries or youth centers. Is it appropriate to do a capital campaign just to improve the financial state of the church?
Not usually. Not by just saying we're going to have a capital campaign and we're just going in the budget. You can have a capital campaign for endowment, and we've done that several times, to seed endowment and get it started. It's a great plan. You can usually raise about one time's budget and immediately seed your endowment program, and it starts producing like right away. But to just say we're going to raise some money that's going to help make next year a little easier, it needs specifics. It needs the specifics behind it. Yes, if you think it's possible that something unplanned could occur. You can buy a plan. You can buy a plan. Just like you could go on the football field and you could say, okay, here's what we're going to do. The first play, we're going to hand it to the tailback. You're going to run off tackle, and you're going to run all the way to the goal line. Okay, that's the plan. Everybody blocks who they're going to block. Everybody, then all the other team will be laying on the ground, and our tailback can run all the way down there. Okay, well, that was a good plan. But the fact is, the linebacker deflected the guard's block and tackled the guy for a 1 yard loss. Oh, now the coach has to make a decision. It didn't go like it's planned. Very few capital campaigns go like they're planned. And everybody's going to give you a plan and a manual. You earn your money when something happens that wasn't in the plan. Somebody died. Something, snowstorm, messed up this meeting and threw us off track, or, the preacher decided in the middle. I mean, I've had all this stuff happen. The preacher decided that he'd run off with, last I had was he ran off with his female associate, and both of them left, Both of them left spouses behind. I hope they're happy. But that tends to hurt the capital campaign, I mean, not only did our senior pastor, commit adultery, he did it with the associate pastor. And both of them did. We lost them both. The fact is, we carried that church through, and they had an incredible success. It really was. It really was. Guess who became their pastor for 8 weeks? You. Yeah. It's cool. It's cool. Anyway, there's stuff happens. And that's what you have someone there. When you've done 2,000 or 3,000 churches, very few times are you surprised and say, my gosh, that's never happened before. It has probably happened before. And you can make a decision that's good for the church. Whoa! Just because it's 5 o'clock. I mean, to tell you what, they cut you off when it's time. And you can put that on tape. Log it off. Shutting down. I love it. I love it. Woo! I mean, to tell you what, this is Pennsylvania hospitality, by golly. I'll tell you what, even when I was preaching, they didn't do it that bad. I did have an usher that used to stand back here and he'd go, okay, it is 5 o'clock, and we didn't even touch on the section on planned giving, and there's a little more on capital giving, but we covered a lot of it. And I want those of you that want to scoot, you need to scoot, and I'm happy for you to scoot. If you really want to stay, I'll stay another 30 minutes and hit this other section. Maybe, if I can be empowered by NEC and bring the slide back up, I'll do that, and then you can go as well. So I'll shut it down. Or you shut me down. No, you did.
I'm not going to take credit for that. But I think we want to express our appreciation to Cliff while we're here. Sharing his expertise and his faith and his energy with us.